Leonie didn't smile back. She reached out and took the shovel, the schlon, from her mother. It was heavier than she'd expected, but she balanced it on her shoulder like Ilse had done and walked on. Ilse fell into step beside her. Ahead of them, Walter was beginning to struggle with the wheelbarrow. "This is so stupid," Leonie said. Ilse said nothing. "It's really stupid," Leonie said. Still nothing from her mother. "It's our holiday too. Why do we have to walk about in a muddy field just because that's what he wants?" "It's not a muddy field, it's a bog." There was a smile in Ilse's voice. She was nearly always happy. Why was she happy when she was married to a man who dragged his family about doing stupid? "Here," said Walter, interrupting Leonie's train of thought. He'd stopped walking and set the wheelbarrow down. He stood with his hands on his hips, looking about him like he was boss of the world, like everything was going just according to plan. Leonie dropped the shovel on the ground. The shovel was the reason they were in this muddy field, in the rain. The day before, Ilse had wanted to shop for antiques, and they'd ended up in a place that sold ancient farm equipment as well as old furniture. The shopkeeper had explained that the curved head of the shovel, it hooked gently inwards on one side, meant that it wasn't a shovel at all, but a schlon, a traditional tool for cutting turf. Walter had bought it immediately and then spent half the night Googling how to use the stupid thing. "This place looks exactly the same as all the rest," Leonie said. Walter frowned. "It's not the same. Look, you can see clearly that there has been cutting here. And we can cut too. Look at the small stacks of turf. The stacks are called knuckere, I believe, or perhaps dukron." He carefully pronounced the unfamiliar Irish words. Probably he'd stayed up all night practicing. Leonie sighed loudly and rolled her eyes. Walter ignored her. "Hand me the schlon, please, Leonie." She picked it up and handed it to him. He started to cut into the peat, pushing the shovel into the wet ground. "There, see?" Walter looked up triumphantly as he slid a sloppy lump of wet dirt onto the ground beside his feet. The lump dissolved into a pancake-like clump that looked nothing like the crusty chunks of brown turf that were stacked about the place. "The peat might be a little wet," said Ilse. Walter started to cut into the ground again. "It's so important to keep these traditions alive," he said in his lecturing voice. "Of course, because of environmental concerns, large-scale turf production is no longer legal. But there is an exception for the saving of turf for your private use. Because this bog came with the house, we can produce turf perfectly legally." Leonie turned and walked away. Still, the rain fell. Behind her, she could hear her father explaining, for what was easily the third time, everything he'd learnt about turf cutting over the past 24 hours. Leonie wanted to tell him that anyone could Google, that reading a Wikipedia entry didn't make him an expert. Instead, she kept walking away, even though there was nowhere she could go. Her father had the key to the house, and they were miles from anywhere, with no buses. She walked deeper into the bog, until her father's voice was muffled and distant. The ground around her changed. There were trenches now, filled with water, either side of where she was walking. The land was thick with reeds, springy and squelchy underfoot. There was a smell, too, earthy, damp. It wasn't unpleasant. As Leonie walked, a large bird with a white band around its neck burst with a squawk of protest from the reeds a couple of meters in front of her. Leonie took a startled step sideways and sank up to her knee into cold, dirty water. Scheiße! Water seeped into her left boot, and the ground sucked.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.